Cheers, y'all. How's it going? I wanted to jump in quickly before we get to the video, just to say I came very close to not posting this workout purely because of how poorly it went in my mind. As you'll see, I don't want to give too much away, but this was a very ambitious workout. This was supposed to be my longest effort and most substantial effort leading up to the Mohican Marathon, Mohican 100 miler. Was hoping that it would be a massive confidence boost leading into the race. I think it had the exact opposite effect in the moment. That being said, I'm in a much better place now mentally. I've gone over the details a lot in my head. I'll come back at the end to kind of go over where I'm at with training, where I'm at mentally, what my plan and everything is going to look like now leading up to the race, which is only 2 weeks away. But as you'll see, was definitely very frustrated during the workout itself. But in the spirit of transparency and showing with the good, with the bad, felt like I wanted to get this out there just because not all workouts are fun. Not all workouts go the way they're planned. I feel like I've been on a hot streak with running, especially after the marathon. Everything had gone so well. And this was just a much needed reminder, I think, before Mohican, that trail running is so different from road running. And the trails will highlight and point out any flaws, any weakness, anything like that in your training right away and remind you, hey, you've got a lot of work before you're ready for this kind of running again. So again, a much needed reminder for sure. Yes, the training run went off the rails very quickly, as you'll see in the confidence I had introducing the run and where I was at very shortly into the workout itself. But without further ado, let's get into the run. Cheers, y'all. How's it going? And happy Saturday. It is just before 7:30. I'm heading to, believe it or not, the closest trail I could find for my last long duration effort leading up to the Mohican 100 miler. Never been to this trail before. The reviews seemed pretty good, so I'm hopeful that it'll be a solid run today. It is an 8-mile loop trail, so I'm planning to do it several times. I wanted to find a loop so that way I can pop back to the car after each one, refuel, rehydrate, etc. I am aiming to, we'll see, in either 3 or 4 loops. I would love to get 4 in. That would be a little over 32 miles. Just not sure timing wise if that's going to work out, but that's what we're going to shoot for. Again, the trail looks pretty solid. It's a nice loop trail around a small little lake in southern New York. Elevation is, I think, a little over 1,500 feet per loop, so should be just over 6,000 feet total for the run if I make all 4 loops. Almost all of that elevation is immediately at the start of the trail. You start at the base of a mountain, kind of hike straight up, and then the loop runs around the top, and then you come back down. But very excited, nervous for sure. I haven't been on trails in so long, doing everything just like it's going to be on race day, testing it all out and hoping for the best. It should be a great run. I have no idea how long it's going to take. I'm not aiming to go particularly fast, really just looking for a nice long effort on my legs to help get them ready for the Mohican 100 miler. So I will see you at the trailhead. I'm excited. I hope you are as well, and I'll see you in a few. Cheers, y'all. All right, we made it. We are on the trail, about a half mile in so far. Had to take a quick pause for this view. I don't know how much you can see, but the town is down there. Like I said, only a half mile in, so it has been a steep climb so far. I'm only about halfway to the summit, but lovely view so far, enjoying it. I'm really just treating this climb as the warm-up. I had my first kind of snack, PBJ, walking nice and slow again, just getting the heart rate warmed up, getting the legs loosened up. And once I reach the summit, it should be, I mean, it's a trail, so they'll be up and down, but relatively flat for the remainder of the run, or the remainder of the loop, until the end, where obviously you come straight back down that climb. So taking it easy right now, just enjoying the scenery, and looking forward to a long adventure today.
Taking a pause right about halfway through one of the loops. It is very serene now that I've gotten here. I have to admit, the entire run up until now has been mostly miserable, since pretty much immediately when I showed you the last overlook to here, navigation is a massive issue. There are so many intersecting trails, the majority of which are so poorly marked. It's taken me forever to make it here. Luckily, I've got the map on my watch, which helps for sure, but it's zoomed out that in the moment, it's very tough to figure out which way to go. So that's been frustrating. Getting eaten alive by horse flies, which is also frustrating, but gonna try to just enjoy the hike back. But honestly, we'll see how I'm feeling when I get back to the car. It could be a one and done with these loops, because I did not come out here just to fight through the wilderness for 7 to 8 hours, but enjoying it right now. There's a waterfall coming up, so that's nice, but tough go so far. Taking another brief pause to remember that despite the misery that was the majority of this trail, the views are pretty sweet. So all right, slight change of plans. It is mid-70s, 85% humidity, which is good preparation, good training for Mohican. But as I mentioned out on the trail, that trail is an absolute nightmare. The first, honestly, like mile is okay. It's basically straight uphill, but it's navigable. It's very clearly marked, very easy, but that after that, there's just so many offshoots. The trail markings get much more sparse. I had a hell of a time trying to make my way around that first loop. Total run ended up being 9.5 miles, so that's 1.5 miles extra tacked on, partially due to the detours, but I think also just trail tacks being up in the mountains. It's always measured a little bit more. The good news that I will say that came out of it was my legs feel good. Gear feels good, shoes feel good, all of that feels like it's working. Minor chafing issues that I'll have to address, but overall my legs feel good, so that's a great sign. Fueling seems to be working. It is just not in the cards today to do that loop that many times. My legs are scratched to hell, my arms are scratched. That gives you an idea of just how tall the brush was, especially on that back half. But instead, we're gonna pivot, we're gonna transition, we adapt. I'm just gonna go and do that hill, just run up and down it once or twice. Again, I don't really want to do crazy, just like back-to-back hill hammering this close to the race. I don't want to risk injury, but I do think my legs could use some elevation. Little disappointed, yes, that's the risk you run running on a new trail. I probably should have done some more investigating, although I tried. There wasn't a ton of information online. I think this is just part of the difficulty of living in a major metropolitan area. Trails, well kept trails with the right conditions for trail running are few and far between and hard to find. So if you know any, please let me know. I will definitely be on the lookout. I also think in the future, probably a good idea to come out, scope out a trail for a shorter run, and then use something that you're more familiar with if you're gonna be doing a crazy long duration effort like I had planned to today. But we pivot, we transition, we move forward. Feeling good, like I said, happy that everything else besides the trail is working in my favor. So we are gonna finish this workout and then head home. 2 ups, 1 down so far, 1 more to go. I feel really good about the climbs. Legs feel good. Definitely feel it in the hamstrings, the quads, but that's normal. It's not overbearing, just reminding me that I haven't done climbs like this in quite some time. But it is incredible how quickly mood can change based on a variety of factors: temperature, heat, fuel, etc., mental state. There's just so many variables in trail running, or I guess that trail running exposes about your running that you just, I feel like, don't experience on the road. It's so easy to be so narrowly focused on the goal at hand, and that is just not the case out here. But had to stop for one more beautiful scenic view from the top, and we are headed back down, and I think calling it a day.
So there you have it, my recent training run from hell. As you saw in the video, the plan for the workout went out the window very, very quickly, especially with the heat, especially being out alone on this trail with limited resources on my back. I just, again, was in that moment where I was in my head, what are you doing out here? This was a terrible decision. So many things could go wrong, and just a really great reminder that no matter how much confidence I've built from road running, trail running is just another animal entirely. So it was in a really, really low moment for that first loop. I do think I transitioned somewhat well to instead just turning it into sort of a hill repeat or elevation gain training run. And I'm very, very pumped about the metrics from the second half of that run. I was around a 16-minute mile, just running straight 600 to 700 feet up a mountain, turning around, running back down, doing that twice. And considering I was just kind of power hiking up and just casually jogging down, very, very happy with that pacing. Those elevation gains were much more substantial than what I'll hit at Mohican. And so just felt good about that, and also felt so much better mentally pretty much immediately as soon as I started doing the hills. Again, it was an easy to navigate trail, got to refill my fuel and everything. I was closer to my car to support, etc. And so that not only was a great confidence boost just in terms of turning my mental state in the workout around, but also a big confidence boost or helpful reminder that when you hit those low moments on the trail, they can very quickly turn around if you're able to manipulate some of those variables that are maybe leading to those low points. That's something I talked a lot about, or have thought a lot about, between last year and this year, was just when we hit our low moments at Mohican, really just let that consume me in the moment, and was in the darkest place I've ever been in running in last year's Mohican 100. And I think I just need to try to remember that even when I hit those low moments, knowing that they're going to come, trying to, instead of focusing on that, focusing on making little changes. What little changes can I make to bring myself out of that? Is it a fueling issue? Is it a hydration issue? Is it a support? Is it talking with my running partner, with Todd, etc.? Like, what things can I do in the moment to try to turn that around? Because it was insane to me and almost laughable, just the complete 180 my brain took when I was able to shift that workout, and when I was able to make some of these small changes during this workout, and how I went from being in such a low, like, what am I doing out here? How am I going to do this race? To then running the hills and being like, oh yeah, I love this. I'm great at the climbs. My legs feel incredible. This is so fun. I'm moving well. That can happen so quickly. And so I just need to keep that in my brain, that when the low moments come, remember that they can turn around just as quickly. What I've thought about a lot over the last week or so is there's not a ton of physical gains I can make between the Delaware Marathon and Mohican. Those races were, 5 weeks apart. So definitely got some mileage in, keeping my legs in shape. But I think the big focus, especially now, we're entering the taper. I'm going to do a couple long runs this weekend, but nothing crazy. There's not a lot physically I can do to better prepare myself for this race. Really what I need to focus on is the mental piece. What am I going to do in those moments to keep myself going, knowing that we're probably expecting to run this in like 28 to 32 hours, somewhere pretty close to the cutoff, and knowing that it is going to be very difficult in those later hours to keep going. We're going to be tired. We're going to want to stop. I think that's conversations with our crew on what they can do to help motivate us to keep moving forward, but also needing to work on some strategies in the moment to just A, distract ourselves when things get tough, but B, some problem solving stuff that we can do to help lift ourselves out of those low moments to be able to keep moving forward. So Although this was a very challenging workout for sure, I think it was necessary. I think it was very helpful and an excellent reminder that, again, trails and road are so different and have such different demands on your body, on your mind, and that is the mindset I need to get into leading up to Mohican. So I am happy that I got out on the trails. I certainly needed that. It also helped remind me like little gear things that I needed. And again, it's just starting to shift my perspective to get ready to Mohican. We are 2 weeks away from this race, which is insane to me. Most importantly, now the perspective shifts to narrowing my focus on those last details, because there are so many details that need to fall into place for this race to go well. There's a lot that can happen over 100 miles. There's a lot that can go wrong over 100 miles. And so just making sure that I've put in enough planning leading up to the race to hopefully deal with some of those issues as they've arrived. I'm feeling good, again, in a much better place than I was in the early stages of that weekend run. And again, just getting excited for this Mohican effort. Always not knowing what to expect, but that's half the fun, I think, is just going out into the wilderness and seeing what comes up and then using those problem solving skills to figure out how to overcome those barriers. So really excited, really nervous and anxious to see what's going to happen, but really appreciate y'all taking the time to check in on my training. I hope this was a helpful glimpse into the things that go wrong, because they do go wrong. And even though I don't share every detail when I'm struggling with some of these stuff, I thought it was important to show, I think, a great example of what can happen when things just go off the rails. So thanks for tuning in. If you don't already, I hope you'll click that subscribe button and please give the video a thumbs up as well. Just helps other folks find the content. And I will be back in the coming weeks to just go over final training details, gear lists, etc., because we are 2 weeks away from another 100-miler effort. So cheers, y'all. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you around. Take care.